Hello, and welcome to another episode of Twin Films. I'm Ernesto Sandoval.
I'm Drew Barnett Hamilton.
How you doing today, Drew?
Awesome. Doing well.
Yeah, I think the last time I saw you was like 2 months ago. Would you say you're a different person from 2 months ago?
You know, new year, new me. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you come up with that?
Like, total original thought right there.
That's really profound.
Yeah.
I've never really
You're
thought
welcome.
of it that way.
Yeah.
New year, new me. Wow, is it okay if I steal that from you and I use it with others? Is it okay if I use that? Because that's amazing.
Yeah, it's all yours.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to try and, purchase that, get a patent for it,
Copyright it.
New year, new me. That is just so... That is so good. Anyway, so today I'm excited about this episode. I'm excited about every episode, but this one was like really, really, really cool. We're breaking down The Truman Show and EdTV. When you first told me about this, I didn't even connect with me that there was a twin film for Truman Show. And EdTV was just sort of, I didn't really know about it.
Did you not see it back in the day?
Not at all.
Interesting.
No, I only knew Ron Howard because of Apollo 13. And then A Beautiful Mind. I mean, I knew about Truman Show, but I didn't know about EdTV.
It was very surprising to realize EdTV was a Ron Howard movie.
Yeah.
I legit forgot it. It feels like a weird choice for Ron Howard. I'm so curious how this idea came to them.
I mean, I read a little bit briefly. It was one of those situations where I don't think the studios were actually aware of similar ideas. I think EdTV, was delayed after they discovered what The Truman Show was. It's such a commentary on humanity and the human condition. It's absurd. It's crazy. People see a lot of money in it and they will lean into it.
Yeah.
I think EdTV and Truman Show is just people just like leaning into it all the way, like, fuck it. And it is what it is. We don't care about the ethics of it.
Throughout the entire film, you're seeing every angle. You're seeing the participants, you're seeing the viewers, you're seeing the executives, you're seeing these analysts and the media side. You're not just getting a singular perspective. Like Truman Show is much more Truman's perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think now that you brought it up, that when they're talking about television, they're like these critics talking about EdTV. It's a lot reflective of today. It's a lot, but today is like on steroids. Like that was sort of like the beginning of it. I started thinking about this as I was watching EdTV and Truman Show, which is I forget that television was the ruler of the world. Phones have taken that over today.
Yeah.
But I have forgotten how insane television was. People still do that today, but phones gave them the ability to move around while watching stuff. But I had forgotten about that craze and this obsession with television and content and people's lives, reality TV.
And that was a big turning point for reality TV because you have the beginnings of the Real World and those shows where you're watching people a lot.
Yeah.
You're not just seeing like, oh, they're on a dating show. You can watch them all the time and they're going to get drunk and they're going to get in fights and they might have sex and people cannot stop watching.
Yeah.
I thought in EdTV, especially the way you're seeing these cameras that are built into his house that are moving around with him, that like wasn't a thing yet.
Yeah.
And on that note, maybe we should step back in time to 1998 and 1999.
At this point, the world population has gone up to 5.98 billion people and is about to cross the 6 billion threshold. Every year, they certify new words into the dictionary. So in 1998, some of the new words that were introduced into the official English language pantheon were Y2K, cyberbullying, social networking, and webinar. On January 16th, the Drudge Report breaks a story about Bill Clinton having an affair with Monica Lewinsky. Microsoft in this year will release their brand new OS, Windows 98. The Oscars, Billy Crystal's host, and Titanic took home the most statues of the night, 11, including Best Picture. In September of 1998, Google is founded. In December of 1998, Bill Clinton orders airstrikes on Iraq, and his impeachment process also begins. Some of the top songs of 1998 include That Boy Is Mine by Brandy and Monica, banger. Truly Madly Deeply by Savage Garden, My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion, Getting Jiggy With It by Will Smith, another hit of 1998. At January 6, 1999 is the end of the NBA's lockout, which had at that point lasted 204 days. January 7th, the Clinton impeachment trial starts. January 10th, Sopranos debuts on HBO. And around this time is also when Michael Jordan retires again. Oscars for 1999. Best Picture that year was Shakespeare in Love. May was the first episode of SpongeBob SquarePants on Nickelodeon. June is when Napster is created. Woodstock 99 is a terrible disaster. In September 99, Serena Williams wins her first Grand Slam at the U.S. Open, and Agassi gets his second U.S. Open title. The last day of the year, on December 31st, 1999, Boris Yeltsin officially resigns as president of Russia and Vladimir Putin takes over. 1999 had some interesting new words added to our lexicon. Some new words in 1999 include carbon footprint, blog, texting, dash cam, and vape got inducted into the dictionary in 1999. Top songs of 1999: Cher's Believe, No Scrubs by TLC, Baby One More Time by Britney, and Genie in a Bottle by Xtina. This is also the year of Livin' La Vida Loca by Ricky Martin and Kiss Me by Sixpence None the Richer. What a time to be alive. I hope this helps. And now let's talk about some movies.
The first movie we're breaking down is The Truman Show. It's directed by Peter Weir. Written by Andrew Niccol. It was produced by Edward S. Feldman, Andrew Niccol, Scott Rudin, and Adam Schroeder. Budget was $60 million, but it ended up grossing domestically $125 million, and worldwide was $264 million.
Wow.
So very successful film. Tagline is On Air, Unaware. That's pretty good. Honestly,
that is a very succinct, like, right to the point. Yeah.
It was produced and distributed by Paramount Pictures and Oscar nominated for three Oscars.
What was the budget of
Truman Show? It was
60 million?
60 million.
Surprising, because EdTV's budget is $80 million.
Wow.
That must be a Ron Howard jam. Like,
probably.
Man, $80 million is a surprisingly high budget here. Opening weekend, it only grossed $8 million. Total U.S. Canada grossed $22 million. Worldwide, $35 million. Wow, that's quite a loss.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that Truman Show is a lower budget.
Yeah.
Even though I feel like the production value you're getting seems far higher in Truman Show.
Also, Jim Carrey at that point was like a $20 million man. So I read that he got paid $12 million for this. So if you look at $60 million, it was actually a budget of $48 million.
Damn.
Wow.
They got bang for their buck.
Shit. Yeah, that's pretty nuts. Well, I want to talk about Truman Show, but I just want to preface this by saying that I might be a little annoying about it because I fucking love this movie. Okay? I'm going to gush over this movie so fucking much, and it's going to be annoying. So I just want to give people a heads up.
I had definitely watched Truman Show in theaters, on VHS, on DVD.
Yeah, you told me you wore it out, right?
Things. Wore it out. Loved this movie. Have not seen it in, I don't know, 8 years, 10 years, whatever crazy number it is, because, you know, one of those you watch so many times you can quote it on end, and you just need a break. I never feel that way about RoboCop, but I did feel that way about...
RoboCop is... Oh, God, it's so good.
It's so good. But I did feel that way about Truman Show. And, God, I was really glad to have an excuse to go back to it because... Oh, God, it's so
powerful.
Good. It's really good. One of the brilliances of the Truman Show throughout is the reveals. And when they choose to give you that information, especially in terms of Christoph and the behind the scenes, because there's breadcrumbs in the beginning, but it is very minimal. You are getting a taste of it right at the get-go, and then you're kind of living in Truman's little world, his little bubble. It makes you so much more invested. And then you feel kind of duped in certain ways like Truman does. I really like that aspect of it a lot.
I like how you're introduced to it, to the show. Peter Weir could have easily gone back to cuts to the control room. He never did that. He was very specific about when are we going to go back to the control room.
Right.
Because what starts this whole thing off is Truman comes out of his like house. He sees a light like fall on the street and he looks up and he's like, okay, this is interesting.
And it's labeled like Sirius, number 9. Like it's clearly part of the constellations. And they immediately on the radio are like, oh, watch out. Some airplanes dropping parts. Like they're immediately soothing all his fears.
And then he goes about his day, and you understand that Truman is sort of going day by day. He finds certain things weird, but that's his life.
I wasn't able to watch them on EdTV, but for the Truman Show, I have the DVD.
Okay.
So I was watching behind the scenes.
Cool.
So I'll sprinkle a few of those in here. But one of them is right when that light falls, he puts it in his trunk. And one of the deleted scenes is he goes to visit his buddy Marlon, and he's got it in the trunk, and he opens it up. And the whole scene is just Marlon saying, oh, it's no big deal, buddy. Like, you're just lucky it didn't hit you. Oh, maybe that would have been better because then you could have sued. Marlon. What a two-faced dude, because you really love him. You really root for their friendship, and you're like, oh, surely Marlon's not in on it. But you know everybody's in on it. You can see why they cut it. In EdTV, you're coming in day one. Literally, like Chiron on the screen, like day one. In Truman Show, it's day 10,909. 10,909. He's so embedded in his routine. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night. And he's got these little tropes. I think one of the things that's so beautiful about the film, again, the way they reveal it, but the intimacy and the quiet of just like him in his bathroom, talking to himself in the mirror, you know, and some of those moments are some of the most striking. And Jim Carrey, he's doing so much with so little. I don't know. He's really brilliant in those.
Yeah, here's what I was going to say is that when I first started watching it, this was my third time watching it. So I'd watched it before. You know, Jim Carrey was like putting on this like performative thing. I was kind of finding it annoying. I was like, you know, he's still kind of doing his shtick a little bit. But then, like you said, when he's in the bathroom or when he's downstairs looking at stuff, from his previous love,
he's building that picture of
yes, and he's remembering the past. Those moments were real. Yeah. And that's when I realized it occurred to me. I'm like, oh my God, of course, because if his world is performative, if his world is all acting and branding and all this shit, even if he does not aware of it consciously, it's going to reflect back to him.
The longer you go, the more they show Truman as a little kid. And one of those things they show is he's like, oh, I want to be an explorer.
Oh,
and the teacher's like, you're too late. They've already found everything. And it's like, no one would say that to a child. Like, you're going to hell if you're saying that to a child.
Before that, I'm like, it feels like he's doing the same shit. But then it's like, no, it's very clever. And this is where this is where it comes in. It's like, he's reflecting back everything else. As an audience, too, it's so funny being aware, too, because Laura Linney, her hair is always so perfect. She's always so happy. It's so fucking plastic, you know?
She's like, oh, yeah, we just amputated some guy's leg, and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, what the hell is
And if this is his world, I mean, it makes sense why he's reached a point and why we're watching this moment in time where he's like, this can't be everything. He has been wanting to explore and he's been wanting to leave. You realize that Christoph did this fucked up shit where I'm going to traumatize him. I'm going to fuck him up. He's going to lose his father and I'm going to make him afraid of traveling. It's just so fucking sadistic. It's like crazy.
Man, it's so messed up because Christoph seems like a loving father figure, this benevolent father figure. And then the deeper you go, it's not just Christoph, it's everyone. It's the mom, it's Marlon, it's the wife. They are all complicit in this man just being lied to for his whole life. Yeah. And they're all playing their own little part. The idea that, I mean, in EdTV, they confront it straight on. He's like, what's going to happen? We're going to have sex on camera? Yeah. And in Truman Show, it's very artistically done. Yeah. They talk about, they just, you know, the camera pans and the curtains flow. But the idea that she has been married and they want to have a baby. I mean, that is crazy. And would that child also be owned by the corporation
I think it would
that
be,
bought Truman? Because I feel like she would sign that baby away.
Yeah, she would.
The reason Sylvia is so enjoyable is because she's obviously not what he's being told to like.
It seemed like it was the first time that it wasn't planned.
Yeah, and she's the first person that tried to be honest with him, other than maybe the dude that jumps out of his Christmas present.
Oh, yeah.
When you see her apartment, she's got posters everywhere. She's clearly like protesting to get him free. She's not just a passive person like Sherry in EdTV. In a lot of ways is very passive.
Right.
I like the idea that she's very actively trying to help him see the reality. Because nobody else wants to do that.
Right. What starts to happen is he sees his father on the street as like a homeless guy. And then he's immediately taken away. It's orchestrated, and the lady leaves her dog. Yeah,
just runs off, and they like swish him onto a bus,
which was terrifying. If that ever happened to me, I'm like, what the fuck? This is insane.
Was that my dad? No.
Yeah.
And then they put out all these articles about the homeless population.
Yeah, and so this is one of the first indications that something's not right. He's starting to kind of connect the dots. And then the radio fucks up in his car. And that's when he has this great moment. Wait a minute. I'm going to try to be unpredictable here and see how things react. And
he goes AWOL, and I just remember, like, I'm just cheering. Like, you're just like, yeah. Go, buddy, go. Yeah. You're just like, get out of there. He goes in the building, and everyone's freaking the fuck out. And he goes to get in the elevator, and they're like, no. And then he goes to get in the other one, and there's no back on it. And you could see Crafty.
I know.
We could see somebody sitting in the fucking director chair. Like, it's brilliant.
And he's like, what the hell is that? Like, what is that? And then they kick him out. And then, of course, Marlon. Then he sees Marlon, and he sees him, and he
sees the truck, and he goes over. Yeah.
And although what's funny about that Marlon vending machine scene is he's doing a terrible job of putting the chocolates.
The fact that he even has chocolates is impressive. I'm like, what? You just saw him across the street? Like, he has to do that every morning? Yeah, no. Marlon's not good. Nobody's good at their job.
No, they're all fucking actors. And they even make a comment at a certain point where I think it's towards the end where it's like, can you drive a boat? They're actors.
I love that gag because it's the same guy earlier in the bus.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, oh, no, I can't actually drive it. And then later they put him on the ferry, and he's like, I hope this guy freaks out because I can't drive a fucking ferry.
This is where he's starting to really like feel like I'm being watched. I don't know what's going on, and I need to do something crazy. I need to go to Fiji. I need to do something. I need to get out of here. He tries to book the trip. He tries to leave town on the bus. And that's when you see the actor being like, what the fuck am I supposed to? And he like fucks up the engine.
Yeah, and like the whole bus starts smoking, and they're like, everybody off.
Yeah.
So he fails, comes home, he's sitting in the driveway in the car, like totally defeated. And Meryl like comes home, gets in the car. If she just like ran with it a little, it might have soothed him. But instead, she's trying to pretend everything's fine.
No, she's just going back to her fucking character. Yeah. And it's like, this is not helping. Yeah.
He's watching the people go by. Yeah. And he's like, the
flowers.
And the Volkswagen.
Yeah.
And then it takes a minute, and he's like, there it is. There's the Volkswagen.
There's a loop.
You really think he's going to do it. It's so crazy. Yeah. And there's a bridge and the water. And you're like, oh, no, man, Truman, no, you can do it. And he puts Meryl's hand on the wheel. Yeah. And he just like presses the gas. Eyes. That is so stressful. I'm like, oh, my God, get over the water. So terrifying to watch that. I got very nervous. He makes it across, and then nuclear disaster.
Oh, yeah, that's right. There's a meltdown. Yeah, plant meltdown or some shit. Yeah. I think at that moment, he's sort of like, fuck. Okay, maybe this is real. But then the guy's like, he's like, yeah, you can't go through. And he's like, all right, thank you. He's like, you're welcome, Truman. That sets him off.
Boom.
It's like, whoa, what the fuck? How did you know my name? Like,
yeah, you're welcome, Truman. And he just starts running through the woods, and all these guys in like silver suits are chasing him. It's like something terrifying out of E.T. It's awful.
Yeah.
And then it just cuts to like the cops are dropping him off at home.
Yeah. They don't even take him to the hospital or anything. He's just at home.
Well, she's a nurse. It's fine.
But then comes one of the fucking greatest scenes.
Oh,
which is
iconic.
That conversation with his wife is like, are you in on it? And then she does the whole like
Mococo.
He's like, what Who are you talking
Who
to?
are you talking to?
What are you talking about?
Well, it's like in it's like when Ed is trying to get Sherry to be performative out of nowhere when they're like breaking up, and you're like, who is this for?
Yeah, and then she finishes the whole brand thing, and he's just like, what the hell does that have to do with anything that I've talked to you about today? And then they have that really crazy, that fight, and then she's like, do something. It's so intense.
She's like, somebody do something.
Yeah.
And he's like, who are you talking to? This is one of those scenes, especially in that kitchen setup where the lighting and the staging, it feels like a play. The way they've lit the room, it's very intimate. Yeah. I'm just obsessed with the way they lay out that scene and light it.
Marlon appears.
Marlon just shows up.
And then Laura Linney has a great moment where she's hugging. She's like, how do you expect me to work in these conditions?
It's not professional. That's like, what she says.
That's like her real moment. And then he's having a heart-to-heart with Marlon.
Yep. Marlon's line that Christoph was saying in his ear was, oh, well, Truman, if everybody's in on it, then I'd have to be in on it too.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Bastards. Okay.
This is the moment Peter Weir decides, I'm going to show you the control room. I'm going to cut back to Ed Harris's character, Christoph.
Finally
going to do it.
I also feel like, though, in that sense, Christoph is a very clingy parent. Like, this dude should have been able to go off to college and live his life. And you're still holding on, saying Baby Bird isn't ready to fly out of the nest. Like, Christoph is the one who can't let go.
So after this whole, Christoph interview, it seems like things are okay because Truman was able to find his father. Yeah. Things are good. He's back to his old self. He's like, oh, great. He's back to being who he is.
And even Marlon is like, all of this started when you saw your dad and you were right. So they're validating Truman and soothing some of those fears that he had and saying you're not totally paranoid. It's a brilliant move. And they're creating this new anchor for him, this new reason to stay. In the same way they took away the dad to create trauma, now they're bringing him back to anchor Truman.
He's back to his old self. He's selling insurance. They introduce a new love. Meryl is out.
Meryl's out. This was another deleted scene, which was wild, and I highly recommend watching, is in between Meryl leaving, there is a scene where it's Christoph and all the cast, aside from Truman, getting new pages, and it's like them explaining Meryl's leaving and that the new love interest is coming in, and everyone's kind of sitting around talking about what's going to happen. And right then, Christoph also pushes we still want to have the first on-air conception. You can see the ways in which they dialed that back because he really only says it once or twice, but it's so creepy in this deleted scene. They made Meryl's exit pretty low key, and then Peter Krause comes in, his office buddy comes in, and he's like, "Hey, hot new chick."
And Peter Krause, he's a fucking great 6 feet under.
I always love him. He's great in everything. He's
love
great
in
everything.
My God, I gotta meet him.
Parenthood, is super.
Yeah, I mean, 6 feet under. He fucking.
I loved him, and I mean, he's everyone in 6 feet under is so good. He really carries that show.
Yeah, it seems interesting because it seems like Truman's fine with it. He doesn't give a shit. He's fine with it.
He's like, bye, girl.
Then we have this moment where it's like he's sleeping. Paul Giamatti's like, all right, switch to the wide. Switch to the close-up. I'm just teaching
He's eating his pizza. He doesn't give a shit. They kind of make a quick comment. Oh, Truman's been sulking in the basement since Meryl left.
Yeah.
But Christoph comes in his fucking PJs and is like, let me see what's happening. They do the enhance. They zoom in on the fucking video in a way you couldn't do. Yeah. They see his hand go under. And so they send Marlon over to check shit out. And Marlon shows up with a 6-pack of beer. Yeah. Marlon opens the cabinet like Truman built a tunnel to escape. Yeah. And this is where shit gets real because Marlon looks straight at the lawn cam and goes, he's not here. What do I do? Yeah. And they cut transmission. The pacing here is so well done. Yeah. Because it just takes off. All the cast comes out. They're arm in arm. They're going on search parties. Christoph decides to turn on the fucking sun early. Yeah, they're like, wait, are you serious? Oh my God. Yeah. They're totally breaking all the rules. All the illusion is gone.
They're searching everywhere. And he's like, check the sea.
Check the sea. We're not looking at the sea.
Finally, they find him trying his best. And there's
a little boat. He's in the cutest little outfit, too. His little captain's hat.
Yeah, I know.
His little turtleneck.
You know,
Very nautical.
he's going out there, and they have this moment where, like, you know, we got to stop him. Truman's resilient. And
they resumed the transmission.
Oh, yeah.
That's the other thing. Like,
that's right.
They
Yes.
see him in the like
in the sea,
boat, and so then they
the
like
audience is able to see.
And everyone,
it,
like the guy in the bathtub, is like, it's back.
Oh yeah, that's right. The guy in the bathtub. Yeah, he's like really into it. He's like falling asleep at one point, and then he's like really in it. And he's
like,
even with Truman, like holding on, like hold on to the boat.
He's like holding on to the shower curtain for dear life. I'm like, dude, you're real pruny at this point. Get out of there. Some of the other executives that we haven't really seen much of, because it seems like Christoph is the god, but then Philip Baker Hall and this other executive kind of come in and they're like, Christoph, what are you doing?
Yeah,
like,
you're gonna kill him.
We cannot murder this man on camera.
Things calm down where Christoph is just having a moment of like, fuck, man, he feels bad. But then Truman's like, is that all you got?
He like talks directly to camera and is like, come on, baby.
And that's when he's like, it's personal. Like, I'm gonna fucking, again, he's God. He's like, I'm gonna fucking go all in.
And this time it's not just the music swell, it's the thunder, it's the lightning, it's the waves. They're like fucking tornado the shit out of this dude. He does not hold back. And again, the executives have to dial him back.
Because they're like, he's gonna die.
He's like tangled himself in the ropes and he's stuck on the boat. So if he capsizes the boat, like he's done.
Yeah.
The waves are coming at it.
I love the moment of Christoph just being like, he wants to like punish him. He wants to push him, but he doesn't want to kill him,
and
you
he's
know?
afraid to let him go so much so that he almost kills him just to keep him there. I mean, it's very twisted.
It's really cool that what you're giving the parent perspective, because I wasn't even thinking about that. But yeah, I mean, you're a parent, so you understand that more than I do. But yeah, he's like, I'm going to do everything I can to not let you go.
As a parent, part of your job is to trust what you have done and let that person go be who they're going to be out in the world. And so it's just so selfish of Christoph to want to keep his kid, in this sense, locked up away from the world. And he's not trusting himself or Truman. Whatever it took for Christoph, he finally realized, like, I can't kill him. It's better to let him go.
And it's also, but isn't it a weird way, though, that he's also a little proud of him, too? He's like a little proud of him.
The defiance is kind of
like, wow, he fucking followed through. But he still will not let him go.
Honestly, he still thinks Truman won't go. It's not even that he won't let him go. One of the things you remember is that shot where he's just like laying sprawled out on the boat, and the boat, you see the front of the boat, and the boat just hits that wall that's so beautifully painted with the sky. Like, Truman freaks out and he's banging the wall with his hands.
Love it.
And he's like, he's just at his wit's end. And then he like sees this little walkway and he walks. And even then, Christoph is convinced he's not going to go out that door.
Yeah. And then you see that fucking iconic shot with the stairs.
It's so like a Marguerite painting.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful.
It's so fucking beautiful. And
the door is just totally black. He doesn't know what's out there. Like, it's so poetic.
It's so fucking good.
And in one of the best payoffs of all time, he just repeats that line again.
And what's I think great about that line, if I don't see you again, it's just, it masks, there's no truth to it. They're just words. So he's not revealing himself. Like, you want me to say something? I'm going to say this, but you have no idea what I'm thinking.
He's playing the part that Christoph wants him to. And I think you're really onto something there, because one of the best lines is when Truman kind of in spite yells to Christoph, like, you never had a camera in my head.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, shit.
So it's like, even now, my defiance to you is, you're not going to know what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
You know, and I love that final scene where they're talking, because I'm going to tell you the reasons. I created this perfect world out there. There's lies, but it's the same thing out there. But here, everything's comfortable. Everything's controlled. But he still cannot see what Truman's thinking.
And he can't see the value in leaving the control. I think overall, the restraint of the film really makes it so powerful. And the acting, I mean, the flawless acting.
I mean, I'm telling you, the editing is something that's just so impressive. It's very deliberate cuts. It's very deliberate reveals. And that is what blows my fucking mind. Behind the scenes, Peter Weir had this crazy fucking idea where he wanted to set up cameras in the cinema, in theaters. and then like halfway, like or like certain moments of the film, cut to the audience watching.
Oh my
the Truman
God,
Show. Yeah.
that would have been fucking cool.
Yeah, so he wanted to do some experimental stuff.
That's really
just
cool.
so you know, because he also obviously has a lot of the film also has a lot of commentary, just like EdTV, about media consumption and what we look at and what we consume, and it's just so profound, and yet it's presented to you in a bright, beautiful world. He could have easily presented this like Blade Runner. You know, but he didn't do.
There's nothing bleak about it. It's the delicate touch, because like EdTV is so in your face. Like the physical humor, the cameras, the over the top drama, the family, all of this is very like a lot. It's a lot. And with Truman Show, it's so measured, and there's such an intimacy in just these certain cameras, like the little fisheye cameras on the dash. So you're watching Truman, and he doesn't have to say anything. He's like showing you that there are cameras everywhere, even before he's telling you about the cameras in the womb.
Peter Weir's trusting the audience.
Oh, yeah.
He's treating the audience as intelligent people.
Yeah, he's not hitting you over the head with anything.
Sometimes he does, like, but he does it in a funny way. Like when he's in the travel agent office and you see a poster.
God. The poster with the like lightning through the plane. This could be you.
This could be, like he hits you over the head with that, but he's not doing it for you as the audience. He's doing it because it's like, can you believe they're doing this to Truman?
Yeah.
It's like, that's the fucking commentary there. He doesn't hit you over the head with stuff. It may seem like it at times, but he's only doing it to just show you how crazy this world is, how crazy it's built up to fuck this guy up. All right, so let's talk about EdTV. Eduardo Televisión.
EdTV came out in 1999. It was a little later, March 25th, 1999. Director Ron Howard. Universal Studios and Imagine Entertainment, which is, of course, Brian Grazier's company. This was produced by Brian Grazier, Ron Howard, and Jeffrey Barabe.
EdTV, let's get into it.
All right. I think it's interesting. We've had a couple of these where they start with like a commercial or like a very visual intro. So this one's the same thing. It's like a commercial for True TV, which, why is it not spelled TRU TV? It's very upsetting because that's obviously what would happen. And then it goes to these executives right off the bat, like EdTV is showing you the development process, the executives, the behind the scenes.
True TV Network is behind in the ratings. They need a hit. They have this concept. And I didn't know Ellen DeGeneres was in this movie. So I was like, oh, shit. Wow, okay. They need to do this for ratings. They need a big hit. And they've come up with this crazy idea of, no, this is like 24/7. We want to pick a good talent. We think it'll be a hit. We understand she's taking a risk, but she's willing to put herself out there to do something completely innovative and new. And then we go to the bar scene where you see Ed. He's wearing a necklace with a beer on it.
As a Houstonian, the wardrobe choices are impeccable. There's so much Oiler gear.
Okay.
He's got a koozie on a string around his neck. It's like a necklace koozie. It's epic. His buddy Adam Goldberg and he are playing pool together.
Right.
And he's like, "Look at you, man. You got a dead end situation here." And he's like, "No,
you're a video store clerk, man."
He's like, "Look at my koozie. I'm living the life."
Yeah, he seems perfectly happy.
He's very content with his situation.
Then we introduce Woody Harrelson. Then we establish that they're brothers.
His brother Ray, yep.
Yeah, really ambitious, complete opposite, very in your face. And he's the one who's dating Jenna Elfham's character.
Yeah, Sherry.
When
the brother shows up, they're taping people's auditions.
Right.
Ray wants to go tape an audition. Ed kind of ends up in the background.
Yeah.
He doesn't even tape his own audition. And the executives are like, this dude.
They're telling Ed, his friends are telling Ed to do it, and he's like, nah, I don't care. Ray, he's like, oh, this could be a great opportunity, you know? And so he does it, pushes him into doing it. And then what I loved about Sherry is she's so aggressive about not being on camera.
Yeah.
Like, she's getting like physical, like, you stop. Like, it's like really intense.
She does not like it. From the beginning, she's so resistant to it.
Yeah.
The other issue I have with that is she's so sure she does not want to be on camera, but she watches his show relentlessly. And that for me is a little tough. It's like, I feel like you can't have it both ways. It's like...
Well, I mean, she's watching the show. She ends up watching the show because of Ed.
But she's watching before he goes for her.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Okay.
She's kind of like already, but I mean, later she admits like, yeah, I've been into you a while.
Right.
Like-
okay. The executives see him, they see his tape, and they're like, we think this is the guy. They come in and they interview him. They do the whole interview process.
He does the interview. He has that line, a dream? Yeah, I got a dream. I just don't know what it is yet.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very Matthew McConaughey kind of like laid back line.
But I also love that. So you're from Texas. He's like, yeah, I'm from Texas. I only bring out the accent when I want to get the ladies.
It helps with the ladies.
Yeah. And the other girls were like,
except Ellen, who's like, the whole time is like not charmed by him in the way every other woman in the office is, which is great.
She believes in him and like, this is the guy. And Rob Reiner's character, I forgot his character name was.
He's just Rob Reiner. The whole time he's just Rob Reiner, the executive.
He's just like, this is the guy?
Are you
this
sure?
This is the guy.
Are you sure this is the guy?
You know, all right. Just before they officially do it, right? They have that great scene in the dinner table where they're eating KFC, the family.
Yes.
Ed and Ray. And Ray's like, you got to do it. You got to promote the gym. I know about this stuff. It's a business. I know how to do this. They're asking really great questions. Like, our lives are going to be exposed. And love Martin Landau. Love Martin Landau. Love that.
Martin Landau. We'll have to talk more in depth about him, but huge fan. of his.
We'll get to that
Amazing,
point. But he has
though,
one great scene in the movie. That's just
Well, I think too. Like I wrote down a couple zingers from him. He's such a standout in this one. If anyone's watching The Bear, I feel like it's very much an intense, stressful family situation.
Oh, wow, you're right, yeah.
Very similar to like those few home dinners he has where everyone's talking over each other. It's very chaotic, but at the end of the day, they all love each other in their own kind of messed up way.
Also, they're not eating KFC. I don't know why I love the touch of KFC. It's
very Southern of them, too.
Going back with the interview with the executive, where he was like, my father abandoned me.
Daddy issues. I wrote down daddy issues.
Yeah, my father abandoned me. Issues. I don't remember, much of what he did or whatever. And he just like took off. That he fell in love with a nurse and he got, or something like that, right?
The mom had given this kind of intense story about him cheating and running off.
Right.
Yeah.
So with that we established the defining dynamic. Martin Landau's character.
Yeah, he's the stepdad who kind of came in.
He's the stepdad. Yeah, a lot of love, a lot of concern, a lot of love. Ultimately, Ed just decides to do it.
Ray says something at the end like, "How many chances do guys like us get?" He's like, "Yeah, all right, why not?" Even though they're bringing up these important questions, he's not able to understand the gravity of what he's agreeing to.
Right.
He's like, "Oh, this could be fun. This could be new. This could be a fun chance."
Right.
Instead of like, "Oh, this is going to change my entire life forever."
He's not really thinking about it that seriously. It's just like, it's a thing. It's a thing I could do.
And in stark contrast, EdTV, you have willing participants signing up to be on camera 24/7. Even if he's getting duped into how much he's actually agreeing to, he knows what he's getting into. Whereas Truman has lived his entire life being lied to by everyone around him.
Yeah. The approach is so different because Ed is aware, Truman is unaware. So Ed is given some agency over this decision and Truman is not. I think at that point, the relationship starts to evolve with him and Sherry, but Sherry can't sustain it because she's the complete opposite of Ed.
She can't turn off the criticism. People are saying really nasty stuff about her and she can't drown it out. She gets really sucked into it and it starts to affect her mental health. And she's like, I'm over it. And she stops seeing the benefit of the situation. He has a couple moments where he has to save her from people. And
the club.
Yeah, there's like some intensity there.
One of the weirdest scenes was where Ed does kind of lose his grasp on reality a little bit was when she's like, I can't do this. Like, get the camera away from me. And then he's like, you're funny though. Like, do a bit. Do a bit in front of the cameras.
That was very upsetting.
Yeah, that was so like, Ed, what the fuck are you doing?
And she calls him on it. She's like, what is going on?
What are you doing?
What are you talking about?
I'm not going to... Then Ed starts to realize, this is all performance. This is what they want. This is the stuff, shit that they want.
Like he's just trying to soothe it over somehow instead of doing the work.
Right. And that moment was upsetting. But also, he's also being influenced by Ellen DeGeneres' character, because she cares about the rain, she cares about the show, and they're having private conversations in the bathroom, and she's just like...
late at night.
Yeah.
And he's also clearly drawn into the fame.
Once Jenna Elfman's character is like, I'm out of here, I'm not doing this anymore, They start to influence with Elizabeth Hurley's character.
All of a sudden, there's new love interest, and they're still very concerned with pushing that agenda and making him move on really fast. And audiences like this, and they're polling people, and that's super unhealthy to have that real time capability to influence the situation.
EdTV is a longer film than Truman Show, and it's overstuffed. There's so many things that happen in the movie. After a certain point, it's very hard to follow, and I lose a little interest. Things start to fall apart, right? Because then the story that the mother told him is a lie. Turns out she left him, and she told, it was like, it becomes a disaster. And then while this is going on, he's trying this new love with Elizabeth Hurley.
It's so clearly forced, and she's clearly just there for the fame of it. And she tries to get him to sleep over.
Yeah.
That's when the voyeurism feels so gross and excessive, when there's people with signs outside of her apartment when he shows up on the night. And then it's everything from supportive signs to one that says abstinence is cool too. It's like,
I gotta be honest, whenever I go on a date with a girl, I would love for a crowd to be cheering me on. Be like, you can do it, man. I would love that. I'd be like, dude, thank God I have people around me that are on my side cheering me on.
Okay,
that's what it feels. That's what a first date feels like. Yes, come on,
let's do it. Yeah, as long as it doesn't end the way his night ends.
Well, well, that's what I was going to say is that,
this is where the absurdity comes.
This is where I like that moment of that's what a first date feels like, when you feel like you're pumped up. That whole scene just was not necessary.
She feeds him the grapes and the cat's there.
I was like, this is so dumb. And he falls on the cat. Like, come on. And I think this through a series of things, Sherry's gone. He lost his father.
Oh, God. So, the doctor is saying, and your mom said that he's
like, what a way to go.
What a way to go. They died in flagrante.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, no, Al. And then Al shows up on a scooter. And it's a very well-timed reveal.
So what we end up finding out is that Dennis Hopper's character, his real dad, was the one who was having sex with his mom, with Ed's mom. And then he had a heart attack and he died. So that's when they end up having that, great moment at the funeral.
Because Ed's not allowed in the funeral.
Right.
He's outside the gate watching. This is one of those moments, too, where it's so much happening in the movie. I love the family and they're all wonderful, but you could have had that whole movie with just him and his brother and the romance. The one romance with Sherry, and it would have been great.
Yeah, 100%. It's overstuffed. Ed is he's kind of done, and he's like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I think there's a point where Ellen DeGeneres' character is just sort of I don't know about this anymore. This seems, because especially after the Martin Landau scene, she gets teary-eyed about it, and she's
upset.
She's like,
and she's
it's
very
a turning point for her.
Yeah, and she goes to Rob Reiner and says, look, it's time, we got to pull the plug. How do we wind this down? And he's like, what are you talking about? This guy is going to be on the air till he dies. He just has this idea that it's only going to keep going up, and he gets greedy.
Yeah,
he gets greedy.
Yeah, so they're and he pushes it. He's like, everyone signed fucking contracts. We're going to keep track of your whole family.
I think we got a sojourn because he comes in around really strong around this point. It's a Ron Howard movie. So we have Clint Howard, who's
yes, oh my God.
He's been involved. He's the poor producer guy who's stuck in the truck with all these camera guys. And around this time too, Ed's had to be what the fuck, dude? Why are you overstepping? And he goes to the truck and he sees they're filming everyone and they're gonna go to whoever's the most interesting.
Yeah.
And they even want to film now. He convinces Sherry to come back, and then they want to stay with her.
Right.
It's oh no.
Yeah. I mean, what happens there is Sherry and him have a good moment, but then Ed's like, all right, follow me. And they're like, no.
Yeah, the camera guys
we have to follow Sherry. And that's what pisses Ed off. No.
And he goes straight to confront.
Yeah, because also he's already said, I want to quit. They're not letting him quit. And so, but yeah, I got to say, what's his name? Clint Howard, right?
Clint Howard, Ron's brother.
Yeah, and so I mean, I love that actor a lot, but his character was just so unnecessary. Like
He's always an absurd character, like in
the hair
Apollo
plugs, and I'm like, why are we watching this?
Because
like,
it's his brother. Like he just loves putting him in absurd. Because he's great in Apollo 13.
Yeah,
he's fun in those cutaways. But yeah, you could have done without any of that.
There's so many bits in there that I'm like, we don't need that, Ron. We don't need it, Ron.
Cut it.
That's when Ed's like, you know what? He has an epiphany in that moment. Like everyone's watching, so he feels, instead of like feeling down about it, he's smart and he's like, wait, there's power here.
Yeah.
There's power in information. There's power in everything I do and who I interact with and information. So whoever gives me the juiciest like tidbit of these executives of True TV, I will announce it.
I love it. He turns the tables on them.
Yeah.
Before they even know what's happening, he announces this contest and he makes it fast. He's like, by tomorrow night, we're going to spill the tea.
Yeah.
And these fuckers are going down. I love the turn. And it also, makes Cynthia, Ellen's character, like certain in what she needs to do. Yeah. There's a great scene when all the executives start freaking out and she's sitting there slowly eating a meal.
Yeah.
0 fucks given. And she's like, I tried to tell y'all. And she like bounces and she quits. It's really...
I mean, he said, what? He's like, if you say another word, you're fired. And she's like, what word? Like,
oh yeah,
she's just
asshole.
Like, yes, what word? Because at that point, she's like, yeah, this is fucked up. This is not cool. And so
they've crossed all the lines at that point. She's out.
And she's the one who ends up calling Ed.
Oh, yeah. She gives him the best. She's again, it's like, I think she does it well. There's kind of some absurdity, but it's still really funny when she's like, I'm talking in this scratchy voice. And she's like, I got to do this fast. This is hurting my throat.
Oh, yeah. That's good. That was really good.
She's got like a scarf on and a payphone. It's very dated. It's great.
Yeah. And so, ends up getting the juiciest information, and Ed announces it, and he's like about someone who basically has like penile surgery.
Penile implants.
And we, it's obviously, implied that it's Rob Reiner's character, and then he pulls the plug.
He calls, he's the one that's been saying they'll never go off the air.
Yeah.
And he's like dialing as fast as he can and cut transmission. Very satisfying.
Yeah.
Cut transmission.
Yeah, and look, I think overall, and then Ray was kind of brought back in to help him out.
Even though he wrote a book called My Brother Pissed on Me.
It's just,
let's just
right, but that brings me to my point, which is like, there's just look, that movie should have been an hour and a half. It did not need. There was just way too long, and I just lost interest in it. I still enjoyed a lot of it. Like I didn't, it was my first time watching it. So I didn't, like I said, I didn't know much about it, but I enjoyed it. It's not like a greatest movie I've ever seen, but it was entertaining. But halfway through, I'm like, okay, I get it.
So much.
Like, I get this. Okay, I get it. Why don't we talk about the cast and crew? Jim Carrey did a great job.
He seems like one of those people you're just like, he's a genius. I don't know.
Yeah.
He just gets things on a different level.
Yeah.
And I really have always respected his work.
Yeah.
Really
well, before
good.
we get to that, I also want to tell you about my run-in with Jim Carrey.
Oh, boy. I used to see him because they were filming Kidding when I was doing For All Mankind on the Sony lot. And so I would see the coolest fucking gags, like this giant hand that was on the back of a trailer. I wish I'd seen more of him around.
Cool.
Let's hear your run-in.
When I went to UCLA, not to brag, I did theater school there. There was this class that was taught by Brad Silberling. Brad Silberling was a director of Lemony Snicket, a series of unfortunate events. He also did like Moonlight Mile, Casper. I was told by a graduate student to sign up for it, and I did because he invites guests. And he would do the class with his wife, Amy Brenneman. Every week, we would just talk about films, different projects, things like that. One of the guests was Jim Carrey. At that point, I think I was like 20. I didn't know what it was like to see someone in real life that you've seen on screen for so many years.
Yeah.
So when Jim Carrey was there talking with Brad, it was very surreal. I was like, this is crazy because I've seen his face before, but not in real life. I feel like I know this person, but I don't.
There's something very bizarre about having seen and heard this person and have a familiarity, even though you've never met them or been in the room with them. I know
it
what you mean.
tripped me out, but he was really captivating, really down-to-earth guy. It was really incredible. And then at the end, I just like shook his hand and he said good luck to me, and that was it. He also had some commentaries about paparazzi. And
he does not seem to go for any of that. Like, good on him. He seems to have a good balance for that.
The paparazzi stuff, I think that played a part in probably him wanting to do the Truman Show, because he knows what that's like. All eyes are on me all the fucking time. Now he's talking, it's a character that's unaware. He doesn't know that the cameras are on him, but it's still a reflection of society and the grossness of wanting to watch this character live his life, and it's all manipulated.
There are certain actors who take these serious turns. It doesn't quite play the way you think it's going to. And then the Truman Show is like, oh, fuck, he's flawless. Like, and he has this subtlety to him that if you watch him in a movie later, like, you know, Bruce Almighty, it's a very similar vibe in a lot of ways, but it's so amped up later. He's going so full physical comedy, and this role is so subdued and so subtle and, like you're saying, so performative, and it's so meta because of it, and he has to do so much heavy lifting because he's playing a caricature of himself.
Yeah, Laura Linney is fucking amazing.
Holland Taylor, like
Noah Emmerich.
Oh, and obviously Ed Harris, Paul Giamatti.
I completely forgot Paul Giamatti.
Our friend Paul Giamatti.
I completely forgot Paul Giamatti was in that movie. He plays that part obviously so fucking great.
That whole staff in the control room is really great. There's a lot of pizza being eaten. Yeah. Harry Shearer making an appearance in both films. Love that.
Yeah, Ed Harris is one of those fucking actors. He just plays, goddamn, he's one of my favorite actors. He's just so intense. He's so good.
He was so all over the map back then, and he could just do it all. Like,
well, I remember he did The Rock. He's so fucking amazing in The Rock.
I love The Rock.
Good God.
And he also did like Milk Money. Like, he's doing all these crazy things back then where he's playing all different kinds of characters.
He's fucking awesome, dude.
Oh man, he's such a badass in The Rock.
At one point, actually, Dennis Hopper was going to play Kristoff.
No way.
Yeah. But I think he apparently walked off set. I don't think he'd
had it after EdTV.
Well, yeah, which is interesting because Dennis Hopper's on EdTV. But yeah, I don't know what happened. But what Peter Weir did is he would write biographies of each character. And he would give that to the actors and be like, this is the biography, this is behind the scenes. I'm just giving you more information. Some actors can find it beneficial, some actors don't. I don't know. But I thought that was interesting that he dedicated a lot. He loved the idea from Andrew Niccol, and he would just go beyond the film. But it went through many iterations because at one point they did want to make it very dark and gritty. Truman was it was a very dark story, and it wasn't later on until there were different iterations. No, let's make this a fucking idyllic, society, a utopia.
And you can see they obviously played with that throughout the filming process, because some of the deleted scenes, one of the only other ones that is really worth a watch, it's very funny, is Meryl's character is like, oh, you need to buy this workout suit. Mm-hmm. It keeps your body temperature consistent and your blood is all consistent, so it's a better workout. And it cuts to him in the bedroom in this thing that looks like weird tight pajamas, doing physical workouts, and it's more like Ace Ventura than Truman Show.
Oh, I see.
So they clearly were trying to find just the right tone, and I think where they landed, it was just so perfect, because when you see more of Kristoff and some of that ick, it doesn't. It's tough, and they gave you just enough to make him a good villain and to make you root for Truman. And same with Meryl. It's there are times where you sympathize with the situation she's in, even though she's a total bitch.
Yeah.
But they just choose to really humanize everyone.
I can't say enough about how great the direction was. Peter Weir, he also did Dead Poet Society. He did Witness. He did Master and Commander. The guy makes it look so fucking easy. He could have easily made this a brooding, dark, in terms of his visual tone.
Yeah.
but instead it's very bright.
Oh, yeah.
Very perfect.
Yeah.
And you kind of fall for it. Like,
there's a menace to that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know Peter was recently recognized by the Oscars. I think he got a
like a lifetime achievement.
Yeah.
Long overdue. Like what a great
extraordinary filmmaker.
Witness. Yeah. Right from the get-go, Witness. Woo!
Yeah. Yeah, Witness is really fantastic. I mean, all of his films are really good. And I think he should be a role model for a lot of directors, because what Peter Weir does is you can tell he takes time in between projects. He doesn't just fucking, make movies every 2 or 3 years.
And like you're saying, he's making bios. He's thinking about these characters on a huge level.
Yeah, and he respects the process, and he doesn't want to rush it. He's one of those, like, sort of like Kubrick too. It's like, you don't rush it. It's okay if it takes you 5 or 6 years to make a movie, then take 5 or 6 years to make another one. It's like the payoff is important. I mean, the payoff works out because you're thinking about all this stuff. Don't just like keep making stuff. I mean, don't just film shit for the sake of filming shit. EdTV, it starts off with McConaughey, and I think he played that everyday man very well. I thought he was very charming, which was really good. I mean, look, all in all, Ed is just a good-hearted person. He's not trying to screw anyone over. He's a good-hearted guy. Woody Harrelson is great. One of the first, it's funny that they would end up working together again on True Detective.
I love,
They have great chemistry.
They are great brothers. He's maybe actually brothers with Woody Harrelson.
Yeah.
The entire family dynamic is so great. Yeah, Martin Landau. The mom is Sally Kirkland, who's wonderful, and she has really good timing.
The father comes back into the picture.
Yes.
Dennis Hopper, which surprised the shit out of me. I had no idea he was in this movie.
Quite a good cameo out of nowhere, seemingly. And he just the security guard just scoots to the left, and it's Dennis Hopper. And they're like, what the fuck? Yeah, that was very surprising. And it causes a lot of chaos in the family. That is one of the few really very apparent similarities in the movie is the long lost dad comes back in the picture. In Truman Show, obviously, it's very orchestrated. And right away in EdTV, they're like, no, I didn't do this. The executives are like, nope, just happens he shows up. So it clearly feels like a money grab situation. But it very quickly escalates because the dad being there starts to reveal a lot of family secrets and discrepancies of things that he hasn't been fully informed about in his life. Like his mom has been keeping some things from him.
The scene with Martin Landau.
Oh, yeah.
When he's just like, you've always been my dad.
Yeah.
Like that is a great scene. Martin Landau is just amazing in that moment.
And he just hugs him and puts his head on him. Oh, it's so sweet. When some of the stuff had come out about the timing of when the mom ended up with Al, my favorite line is he goes, don't blame your mom. I was irresistible.
Oh, yeah. Jenna Elfman, I thought she played that part very well.
I like she's a UPS delivery person. Her roommate is fun. She's in a few things of that era, as people's roommates always.
Yeah. Clint Howard, who...
Oh, Clint.
I mean, I love Clint Howard and all his... in The Grinch and all that stuff. But yeah, I felt like actually this time his character was just not necessary. He should have put in something else. You should have been executive or something.
There was... Oh, yeah, he should have just been one of the executives at the table. There's a few fun executives around that table. Some of the people that work in Ellen's office, like Cynthia's office, are really great. Adam Goldberg, he's a good... He's really funny because he's one of the guys playing pool, and then later he ends up being a commentator on one of those panels, and he's super highbrow.
Yes, that's right.
Throughout, they cut to not just viewers, but the people analyzing the show. Michael Moore's on the panel, and Ariana Huffington. You have a lot of Jay Leno, but you also you get RuPaul.
Oh my God, RuPaul
comes in and out.
Funny
because RuPaul's when you're done with that skinny bitch, come find me, baby. Ru's got some great zingers.
That's right. Those little moments are really fucking funny. Yeah,
I really enjoyed some of those.
Yeah, RuPaul has been around for a while.
Oh,
Shit, she's still amazing.
Amazing. I mean, she had like successful albums going then.
Yeah.
But Harry Shearer is the main moderator guy, and he is also going to make an appearance in the Truman Show.
Yeah,
he's interviewing Christoph.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a very interesting similarity. And one of my favorites is not Michael Moore, but the other guy says, oh, it's the end of humanity. Like, we've reached the lowest point, like lowbrow humor. And Michael Moore says it's a new low point in American culture. And then the other gentleman says, a joyous celebration of boobery.
Both of these movies deal with this idea of the gross side of humanity, of being entertained by other people's demises, their joys, their ups and downs, and it's grotesque. There are also two genres. EdTV is more of a comedy.
Yeah.
There's more of a comedic approach to it, whereas Truman has more of a dramatic approach. Ed is aware of this. He's thinking about it, but Truman does not. And I just think that's so fascinating that these films have those different perspectives,
And you're definitely right. I think there's almost like a physical comedy element to EdTV. Jim Carrey brings that in his acting, but everything else is straight.
Yeah.
In Truman Show, so it doesn't feel like a comedy in the same way that EdTV does, because EdTV has absurdity.
Right.
Even the way you're watching the viewers. So you're watching people watch Ed or Truman, but there's far more campiness in the EdTV cutaways.
Yeah, and
Except for the guy in the bathtub in the Truman Show.
Right. Well, okay. Well, let's talk about that, right? Because they're in it for different reasons, but also they've established a history.
There's whole cafes that play it 24/7, and
security guards that are watching it. I love the audience reaction. EdTV, especially the black couple, where the husband's just like,
oh
what?
my god,
like, stop
why are you watching this? And then by an episode, a couple days in, he's so hooked. I love the Brooklyn gay couple. Same thing. Yeah. He's like, what are you watching? We gotta go. And he's like, I'm not leaving.
But he has an attitude about it. It's like, just leave. I just want to know. I want to watch. Like, stop. Just like, leave me alone.
But then later he's like gasping and he's like so involved, like personally involved. It's adorable the way they evolve the viewers.
Once EdTV starts, it does feel like physical comedy, like ridiculous, because there's literally Ed is literally checking on his own ass.
Oh God! Even before that, he wakes himself up in quite an interesting way, and you're like, "Dude, did you really forget there were 4 people in your house right now?"
And I think
it is a little.
But the comedy there, you can tell they're leaning into the comedy because Ed is like doing this. He's like a kid. He's like, "Oh wow, I can do this." At TV, you have these executives that don't want to mess with what's going on. Let's just let things unfold, but then they slowly start to influence it. Whereas Truman Show, it's all influence.
That all makes it feel like a cult. It's not just like the ratings and the commercialism.
It's a way of life.
It's like, and they're worshiping in the cult of like Christoph. Yeah. I mean, Christoph. Yeah. Yeah. This is a cult name.
Yeah. It's obvious though that Christoph loves Truman. He fucking loves Truman. He sees him as, this is where we get into these religious, biblical, comparisons, because Christoph is playing God.
Oh, yeah.
He sees Truman as his son. It's just this massive world, this utopia that was created for Truman.
And Christoph also says Truman can leave anytime. He kind of plants the seed here. Mm-hmm. Like, no, he's free to go. Like, obviously, he's not at all free to go.
He says something interesting, though, right? He's free to go anytime. He just has to, want it. Yeah. He just needs to, prove that he wants to leave. Something along those lines.
He kind of dismisses previous attempts and says he always moves on and, it's like, well, you also traumatized him into not being able to leave. So that's clearly not him having free will.
Yeah.
Nothing about this screams he has a choice.
Yeah.
Truman's had his whole life be controlled. All he wants now is the unknown.
Yeah.
Christoph wants to keep him safe and keep him from experiencing that. It's like, well, he's not really living.
Yeah.
And I think it's really sweet and charming the way they're cutting to Sylvia And they don't have to say anything. Like, she gets it and she like grabs her car keys and she fucking goes because she's going to go get him. Like, and it just, I don't know, it gives me chills every time because it's like he's starting his whole life now.
Yeah. And I also think, for me, I also thought of it as a metaphor of death. Like, he's leaving his current life and he's going on because it's a black door.
Yeah.
He's moving on to another plane, to another life.
And he doesn't have to perform anymore.
Right.
All that performative stuff, he can let go of it.
But it's also this is what makes the ending so great. It's also a metaphor for growth. Like, you're leaving your old self behind and you're moving forward with a new self.
It spoke to me a lot, having, been through a divorce. There are a lot of situations in which you have to shed who you are to like level up.
Yeah.
And to step out, and that's so scary, and you doubt yourself so much, and you think you're going crazy and that everyone's out to get you, and who am I to think that the world is revolving around me in this way? And like all of that is what Truman's going through.
It's elevated. Wherever he has to go, it's an elevation. It's somewhere new. It's something that's empowering. I think I love just even the physical aspect of him having to climb steps,
And leaving this painted facade into, even if it's just black, it's more real than this imaginary world he's 100%. Been stuck in, there's such a beauty to that. And they don't show you. Like, I think a lot of directors would have given you some like end tag that's like him and Sylvia having a great time, and you're like, oh god, it would have ruined the whole
but also what I love too is that they show the audience cheering Truman on. They're also aware that Truman's discovering the truth, and in a way they're also, just like you were saying earlier, like they're cheering him on, like, oh, he's gonna fucking find out. It makes it that more interesting. Yes,
they want him to be happy.
They actually, and which is in a very, I guess it's perverse again, but they're enthralled by him, and they do genuinely love him. They are his fans. They want him to be successful.
But then they also can move on so quickly because one of the biggest things is like the two guys who've been watching, the security guards. They're like, you want to watch something else? And they're like, let's switch.
Well, that's it's also similar.
It's very real. It's very real. It's like, okay,
and that was pretty similar to EdTV ending as well.
Yeah.
It was like, all right, what else is on?
Yeah.
Because people that's just the way it is. You experience something, you want to experience something else.
Yep. We should pick a winner.
Yeah, we should pick a winner.
I think we've made it. We've made our.
I think it's pretty clear who we think the winner is. All right, and the winner is the Truman Show.
The Truman Show.
I mean, it's almost unfair,
Poor EdTV didn't stand a shot.
It didn't stand a fucking chance.
No.
I mean, it's like you've eaten a chocolate chip cookie and there's a half-eaten oatmeal raisin cookie on the floor, and you're like,
I don't appreciate people shitting on oatmeal raisin cookies. How about like a plain sugar cookie?
Plain sugar cookie, half eaten on the floor, and you're just like, why am I comparing these two? It doesn't make sense. That's not to say EdTV is a piece of shit movie. It's not.
EdTV I found far more relevant than I anticipated. And I think really just watching both of their takes on the voyeur culture back then were very on the nose, and the fact that we're still swimming in all that now, and
we're in worse conditions.
I mean, it's so crazy that they called it then. They were like on us then. So I think that stuff's very interesting in both films. But I mean, just the subtlety, the direction, the production design. Truman Show for me takes the cake far and away. It's a movie I will continue watching. Always, forever. Like, it's great. The Truman Show has a lot of good reveals. Yeah. But knowing all that you know does not diminish the view for me in any way, because it's so well done and well executed. It's just always going to be a great watch for me.
Yeah, honestly, this is my third time rewatching Truman Show. To me, it just shows how more fucked up and dark it is, because it's really just so manipulative.
So manipulative, yeah.
But again, it was just like, man, the presentation is so bright and colorful, and it's just, wow. A lot of similar ideas, but it's just unfair because I think they're different genres too. I think they were going for different things. Like the Truman Show is funny, but I wouldn't classify it as a comedy.
No.
It has funny moments, whereas you can tell EdTV was doing bits to be funny, you know?
Yeah.
And Ron Howard and Peter Weir are good directors, but honestly, Peter Weir he's just on another level.
He's definitely got that auteur vibe.
Yeah.
The preparation, the layeredness. Like, it's just
so multi-layered. Yeah.
It's a winner. It's always a winner in my book.
Yeah. Please watch The Truman Show. If you haven't seen The Truman Show, please watch it. I mean, we just, destroyed the whole plot and everything, but it's not even about that. Just enjoy it. It's really amazing.
You can't not enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's a good watch. And EdTV is a good companion. It's a good reminder that there were these movies out there, but there's a reason that one of them made a big profit worldwide, and there's a reason one of them did not. And I'm not saying it's a bad movie, but when Truman Show came out first, I just think EdTV didn't stand a chance. It's just a different kind of film.
The other thing I wanted to say about EdTV is that I didn't know it was actually adapted from a French film. I had no idea.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, seriously. You're looking at me like I'm messing around with you.
I don't believe you.
No, I swear to God.
Yeah, okay. Louis 19.
Yeah, it was adapted from a French film.
French film.
Yeah. Am I going to watch it? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe. I have no idea. I didn't know about that other film at all.
No. Now I want to watch it.
I didn't hate EdTV. I don't think it's like crap, but it's just like so weird for Ron Howard,
It feels like an indie movie, and it's crazy to learn that's the budget.
Yeah, that's so nuts.
And that it flopped so hard, even being a Ron Howard movie.
Yeah, I just think probably it got fucked by Truman Show because because
it came out just late enough that and the bar was set high.
Yeah, because Truman Show killed. And it's like it just
worldwide too.
Yeah, and so I just feel like people just it's one of those things that's just unfortunate that you can't control. I'm sure it was just like, well, we can't do anything about it. I mean,
I feel like if EdTV had come out before Truman Show, it would have had a much better shot.
Yeah,
at least making its money back.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I was surprised to learn this was a twin film because EdTV was just, to me, I guess it was buried. Because I didn't even associate Truman Show having any sort of competition like that around it.
Yeah.
So that just goes to show how successful Truman Show was. All right, so the clear winner was The Truman Show.
Sorry, there's a clear winner
Sorry,
here.
The Vaudeville TV. Thanks again for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We want to give a special thanks to Monica Sandoval, our graphics designer, and our composer, Ricky Lee Crow, and to Eduardo Roman for letting us use his wonderful space.
We appreciate you listening and subscribing to our podcast. And you really don't want to miss next month's summer blockbuster episode. We're doing a big one, you guys. One of the major twin films of all time, Armageddon and Deep Impact.
Please check out our next episode. We appreciate you so much for taking the time to listen.
We can't wait to be back with you. Thanks again.
Twin Twin